Christians in England say Black Friday this year was truly dark on the issue of life and death there. On November 29th, the British Parliament gave the green light to consider legislation that would allow for assisted suicide in the UK. Dale Hurd has just returned from the UK. He joins us with more. Dale, this has been attempted before, so what are the chances it will pass this time and become law?
That's a good question. People at first thought it was passed. Americans, no, it was only allowed to go through the system. And now it's going through a long process, a potentially long process that could take days or years, probably not years, probably closer to weeks. We already know that a lot of MPs want to attach amendments to this. They want safeguards. Even Liberals, Jeremy Corbyn voted against this bill. They know, even liberals know, this has been abused virtually everywhere it's been introduced as a law. So by the time they attach all these amendments, maybe it won't get the votes it needs. I just have no idea.
What does the legislation actually say? Are there any exceptions?
It says, allow adults who are terminally ill subject to safeguards and protections to request and be provided with assistance to end their own life and for connected purposes, whatever that is. But yeah, so it mentions safeguards and protections. What are those going to be? If they're too stringent, it might get voted against. If they're not stringent enough, it might get voted against. It's clear the overall sentiment is to pass this bill. So I would say, I would give it like at least a 51% chance of passage.
Christian Concern, the legal group in London, is among those standing against this legislation. They recently asked a former pastor named Philip to weigh in with his thoughts, and he has terminal pancreatic cancer. He has 6 months to live. Here's what he and his wife said about it.
Nowhere do I read in the Bible about you should go around and killing people who are ill. In fact, it's my understanding it's the opposite.
It'll start off like it always does. They'll say, oh yes, we'll build in safeguards. Oh yes, you'll be able to have a clause where if it's against your beliefs, you won't have to do it and all the rest of it. We've seen this in other contexts.
Yep.
Other countries,
and gradually, it just gets wider and wider and wider.
So Philip is nearing the end of his life. His cancer is terminal. He's a Christian. He believes life and death decisions are in God's hands, but what about non-believers, Dale? Many argue this would be an act of mercy to spare the terminally ill and elderly from pain and suffering.
Well, an act of mercy would be to share the gospel with them while they receive excellent palliative care. And this is ghoulish to consider, but the NHS in Britain, the National Health Service, is overburdened with patients and short of cash. And some are worried that the right to die may become the duty to die, to literally clear out space for the rest of the patients. And so that's the real concern, is that what this will turn into.
And on another matter in England, you recently did a story about Hatun Tash. She's the former Muslim, now a Christian evangelist, who has suffered attacks and danger in the UK. Let's take a look.
She is an ex-Muslim turned Christian evangelist who has been beaten, chased by mobs, unlawfully jailed, and even stabbed.
Can someone call ambulance, please?
Somebody call the ambulance, bro.
All for the sake of the gospel. This is not Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia, however. It is officially Christian Britain. Her name is Hatun Tash, and what's been done to her has even caught the attention of the British media. Hatun Tash grew up as a Muslim in Turkey and became a Christian after arriving in Great Britain. And as an ex-Muslim speaking out against Islam, she's become a target. Tash told us she's changed residences more than 50 times in the past 4 years because she knows Muslims are looking for her in order to kill her. One man has already been sentenced to 24 years in prison for trying. Because of this ongoing danger, she asked that we interview her from a secret location. Tash told us her conversion to Christ began when she learned the truth about Islam and Mohammed.
As I read his biography, it was very disturbing to me. So the man you grew up to love and honor suddenly turns out to be like, yeah, not good at all. And decided, yep, I can't be Muslim.
Then she learned about a very different God than the one of Islam.
As you dig into it, You get to meet with a God who is not silent or far or distant from you, but you meet with a God who concerns for you, who loves you, who he pours out himself on you. And not only that, he just puts himself on the cross and then says, I love you from everlasting to everlasting. Repent and come to me.
Tash began sharing this message to Muslims at Speaker's Corner in London's Hyde Park, where speakers climb atop benches and ladders and where vigorous debates ensue, often between Muslims and Christians. Her criticism of Islam has sometimes enraged Muslims, and 3 years ago a man slashed her face with a knife. He was never caught. She, however, has been arrested unlawfully more than once. The London police have twice paid her damages for wrongful arrest, including 2 years ago, when she refused to leave the area where she was preaching. Tash was forcibly marched through Hyde Park, followed by Muslims celebrating her arrest. She was placed in a police van, strip-searched, and jailed. This has not stopped Tash from going to mosque and sharing the gospel daily.
I would simply stand in front of the mosques and then say, Muhammad is false prophet, Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Tell me what is your objections. Hundreds of Muslims just stops and then they want to talk to you. Sometimes you get harmed, sometimes it gets dangerous. Sometimes you end up in hospitals. Sometimes you end up in people's house for a cup of tea. It's all very different. So I don't care whether people reject me or not. They need to hear the gospel. They need to accept or reject Jesus. Gospel is so glorious, it cannot be silent. Lord is the giver of life. So when it's my time, he will take me home. But until he gives me breath, we continue to preach.
Hatun is driven to share the love of Christ with Muslims. Dale, tell us a little more about her. I'm sure you were encouraged by her faith.
I was. I have to say that when I scheduled the interview with her and we set up a time, she answered, oh, good, that'll give me a time to get back from mosque. And I thought she was joking because she could get killed in a mosque. No, she tries to go to mosque every day. And she goes and she tries to find one where they'll allow her to ask questions and to critique Islam. But I am very concerned about her because there are people who want to kill her. And we need to all pray for her protection and wisdom that her ministry will go forth because she's in a dangerous position. And she's a very brave person.
Yeah, she's amazing, isn't she? How inspiring.
She reminded me of a New Testament figure in the sense that this is her life. This is what she does. She doesn't really talk about anything else except this burden inside her for Muslims to hear the truth about Islam and Christianity and be given a chance to make a decision for Christ.
Okay, Dale Hurd, thank you for another excellent report. Now, well over 1 million views, I might add, on YouTube for that report. I know you'll stay on top of that assisted suicide legislation bill as well in the UK.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.